All right, welcome back to the Cap Rack. It is Friday, August 14th. We have a bunch of MLB games today, as usual, after only a 6-game slate yesterday. We have the last day of the NBA season today. Before tomorrow, the Grizzlies play the Trailblazers in a play-in game for the 8th spot to go up against the Lakers in round one of the playoffs in the West. And then we also have more of the Stanley Cup playoffs here in the NHL taking place today and throughout the next couple of weeks until the playoffs are over and there's a Stanley Cup champion. So we're going to start off here with the MLB. The first game of the day is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays with Trevor Richards on the mound against the Toronto Blue Jays with Tanner Roark on the mound. The Rays are minus 130 favorites, and I think rightly so. If you look at the last 10 games for both teams, the Rays are 8-2 and the Blue Jays are 3-7. Just two teams going in opposite directions. Tampa Bay handled Boston pretty well in their last series, but I think Tampa Bay should definitely get this one. Tanner Roark is an aging veteran. He hasn't been able to do much as of late, but I'm going to ride the hot team. I'm going with the Rays. That's going to be my pick for today, or one of them at least. So we have the Rays minus 130. There's also either 9.5 or 10 runs on the total, depending on what sportsbook you're looking at. I want to lean over just because Trevor Richards is making his first start for the Rays of the year. Pitched like 9 innings out of the bullpen, hasn't really pitched too well. So I think this has a tendency to go over because Toronto can really score some runs. Tampa Bay, we saw, they put up 17 or 18 against the Red Sox yesterday or 2 days ago. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay at minus 130 as my first pick. Then moving on, we have the Washington Nationals and the Baltimore Orioles. Steven Strasburg's going for the Nationals and Tommy Malone for Baltimore. Washington is minus 180 on the money line. Steven Strasburg has been dealing with some nerve issues in his right hand, so who knows how long he's going to last. I want to take Washington here, but I'm going to stay away, at least just for today, because Baltimore just swept Philly. They're looking like they're figuring something out. I don't know what it is, but they're definitely hitting their stride a little bit here. I still don't completely trust them. I think they're bound to unravel at some point this season. But for now, I'm either going to fade the game completely or put a small price on the underdog Baltimore at home just because they've been playing well. But I'm going to advise you stay away from that. Moving on, we have the Boston Red Sox visiting the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Boston still doesn't have a pitcher named. It's currently 10 o'clock in the morning on day game, and they still don't have a pitcher named. I thought it was funny. They had, I think it was as of yesterday, they had to be determined, Nathan Eovaldi, and to be determined for all of their games. I believe it was either starting yesterday through Sunday or today through Monday. I don't know, but the Red Sox are having starting pitching problems, and it doesn't matter who they're putting up against Garrett Cole tonight. The Yankees are going to take this. The line shows it. It's minus 375 or 395, depending on the sports book. It's up there. It's just too much juice to lay. I don't think it's worth it here. So just stay away from the game completely. Then we have the Mets with Jacob deGrom on the mound against the slumping Philadelphia Phillies. One bright spot, they are calling up Spencer Howard, one of their top pitching prospects, if not their top pitching prospect. But the Mets are minus 220 on the money line. Again, I know it's Jacob deGrom. The Mets should take this game pretty easily, but I'm going to stay away. It's just way too much juice on a very inconsistent team. And we also don't know what we're going to get out of Spencer Howard. I mean, he could come in here and he can duel Jacob deGrom for 6-7 innings, and we don't know. I mean, the Mets lineup is very inconsistent, so he definitely could cruise through this game, and it could be tight down the line, and I don't want to have 220 juice waiting in the balance here to be settled by the Mets bullpen or the Phillies bullpen. So no pick on that game. Then we're going to move on to another 7 o'clock game. We have the Cleveland Indians and the Detroit Tigers. Aaron Savali is on the mound for the Indians, and Ivan Nova is going for the Tigers. We have Cleveland as minus 170 on the money line. I did have them as one of my picks, but then kind of got scared away a little bit. I'm not completely confident about this. Denver's been sneaky. They're at home, and this is just a little bit too much juice for me. I mean, if the line does come down, I'd look to get Cleveland somewhere under 150 if you're going to play them. But for now, stay away from this. The total is either 8.5 or 9. I think that has a tendency to go over. But, I mean, again, just a little bit of a lean. I'm not going to recommend you take that. Then next, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates against the Cincinnati Reds. Chad Kuhl is going for Pittsburgh, and Sonny Gray is going for Cincinnati. The line is set at Cincinnati minus 190. The total set at 8.5. Sonny Gray is one of the best pitchers in baseball this year so far, which is pretty crazy. I mean, he couldn't do much in a Yankee uniform, but ever since he got to Cincinnati, he's been pitching pretty well. I think he's got like a crazy streak. I don't know the exact number of games without letting up more than 6 hits, which is pretty crazy. But he got his first loss of the season on Sunday in Milwaukee. But I mean, he still pitched well. He's got a 3-1 record with a 2.2 ERA. And Chad Kuhl is looking to kind of work up more in the pitch count department. He is getting his second start of the season. He struck out 12, only allowing 2 runs on 6 hits and 3 walks in 9 innings. But as for the betting on this one, I think I'm going to stay away only because the line is a lot to put down on Cincinnati, who should be a little bit better than they are right now. I mean, they're finding ways to win games, but it's not convincing by any means. So Pittsburgh won yesterday, pretty big. They put up like 9 or 10 runs. So I'm going to stay away from those streaking bats. Not that there's anything really crazy to worry about with the Pirates, but when we're laying minus 200 juice, I want to be completely convinced, and I'm absolutely not in this case. So I'm going to move on now to Atlanta versus Miami. We have Kyle Wright going for Atlanta and Pablo Lopez for Miami. The line is fairly even. It's around Atlanta showing a slight favorite at minus 110. Miami a little bit after that. Kyle Wright is has a 6.75 ERA, 0-2 record. Pablo Lopez 1-1 with a 1.8. Kyle Wright has looked really good, but he's had a couple blow-up innings in his first couple starts this year. And the Marlins, I still don't trust them. I know they're 8-4. They're playing well. They're at the top of the East. But Atlanta's lineup is just way too dangerous to mess around against, especially with the Marlins. So I'm going to either recommend you take a play on the Braves here at close to even money, or just stay away completely. I think this has the potential to go any possible way. And it is in Miami. So Miami divisional game. I don't want to play this game. Next, we have the Kansas City Royals and the Minnesota Twins. Jake Junis is on the mound for Kansas City. Jake Odorizzi on the mound for Minnesota. The Twins are minus 170 on the money line. The total set at 9.5. Jake Junis beat the Twins going, I think, 4 or 5 innings in his last start. The Twins ended up losing that game 3-2. Again, I think the Twins should take this game, but when you're laying minus 170, I think the line's even going to creep up even higher as game time comes down. But Jake Odorizzi hasn't looked good. I mean, he only pitched once this year so far. He pitched 3 innings, and I think he let up, I don't know, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 runs. But, I mean, anyways, he's not getting strikeouts. He's not really back to form where he was kind of this steady, consistent 3-starter maybe 2 years ago. But I'll look to get back to them, betting the Twins sometime soon. But they need to figure it out and really start with consistency. So next, we have the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. Brandon Woodruff is going for Milwaukee. Tyler Chatwood for the Cubs. Last time I bet on Tyler Chatwood, it was against the Royals, and they got blown out like 13-2. So I'm a little scared here to put money on them again. The line is around even. Milwaukee showing a slight favorite. If I had to say anything about this game, I would say a slight lean towards Milwaukee. But as the Cubs are 13-3, I'm going to just completely stay away myself altogether. But then moving on, we have Texas and Colorado at 8:40 at Coors Field. Texas are minus 120 on the money line with Lance Lynn on the mound, who has pitched absolutely out of his mind so far. He's 2-0 with a 1.16 ERA, 30 strikeouts. He's 1-1 with a 2.8 ERA in 4 starts in Colorado at Coors Field, which is, I feel like, the telltale sign here, which is why the Rangers are going to be my pick. He's finding a way to keep runs off the board in one of the most offensive-minded parks in the league. So the Rockies have Ryan Castellani going for them. He went 4+ innings in his major league debut on Saturday. He didn't allow a hit or a run, but I mean, it's the Rockies. The Rangers are, a 500 team right now, but they can definitely get some wins here. I don't trust the Rockies completely yet. I know they're 12-6, but it'll be a good game, and I like the Rangers to take this out. So I'm going to make the Rangers minus 120 one of my plays today. Before moving on to the Mariners versus the Houston Astros. The Astros are minus 190 on the money line. Framber Valdez is going for Houston against Yusei Kikuchi for the Mariners. Again, the Astros are just very inconsistent. The top half of their lineup has not been able to produce anything. They have batting averages in the ones. I mean, aside from Carlos Correa, Michael Brantley, there's nothing much to trust about this Astros team. Framber Valdez is a little bit of a bright spot in the rotation. Zach Greinke's pitched well, but their bullpen kind of implodes here and there, and their lineup is not to be trusted. So I'm going to stay away from this game. Next, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Los Angeles Angels at 9:40. Kershaw is going for the Dodgers against Patrick Sandoval. Patrick Sandoval pitched 6 innings in his last start against the Texas Rangers, only let up 2 runs. His one mistake was a home run to Joey Gallo. Going for the Dodgers, Kershaw is Clayton Kershaw. He didn't pitch well in his last start, but he let up 3 home runs to the Giants in his last outing. He missed a lot of his spots on the mound, so I want to see him get right before we lay minus 170 on Kershaw. I mean, I know he's Clayton Kershaw, and they should win this game. The Angels are kind of one of those middle-of-the-pack teams, a little bit lower than average, but I mean, it's a lot of juice to lay on a guy that got shelled in his last start. So I'm going to have no play on this one. Then we have the Padres and the Diamondbacks with Dinelson Lamet on the mound for the Padres against Merrill Kelly. The Padres are minus 124 on the money line. The total is set at 8.5. Both of these pitchers have pitched really well for their teams this year. Lamet has a 1.6 ERA. He's 2-0. And Merrill Kelly is 2-1 with a 2.29 ERA. I'm going to take a play on the under here. I know it's a low total already. It's 8.5, but the Padres are struggling to score runs in their last couple games. Diamondbacks lineup doesn't really impress me, but I think this is going to be a pitching duel for the first couple innings. The only reason I could see this game possibly getting blown over the over is if the bullpens of both of these teams just kind of implode. But I think they have enough pieces in the bullpen to the point where it's a close game. They're both going to go for the win. They'll throw out their good bullpen guys and keep this total low. Then last game of the day, we have the Oakland Athletics with Frankie Montas on the mound versus Johnny Cueto and the Giants. The Athletics are minus 188 on the money line. Total set at 8.5. I think the Athletics should take this one, but again, it's just a lot of juice to lay on a guy like Johnny Cueto, who had 6 no-hit innings in his last start before Hunter Pence dropped a fly ball. I'm going to have no play on this with a lean towards the Athletics. Then we're going to move on to the NBA. We have the Denver Nuggets and Toronto Raptors at 1:40 p.m. The Raptors are 3-point favorites. Both of those teams are locked into seeding, so it doesn't really make much of a difference there. I wouldn't touch this game. It's not important. It doesn't matter to either team. It could go literally either way, and nobody gets affected by it. Then we have the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers at 4:10. Now, both teams are locked into the 4 or 5 spot in the East. The Heat are minus 1.5 point favorites. It only really depends who gets what seed, and they're still going to end up playing each other in the first round in the East anyways. But I like the Heat. I think they're a more complete team here. The Pacers have had guys coming in and out off the injury list, on the injury list. I mean, you name it. Like, the Pacers are just having problems, but then you look at a guy like TJ Warren, who's kind of the bubble MVP so far. I mean, aside from Damian Lillard coming out the last couple of days, just absolutely killing it for the Blazers. TJ Warren is a guy that's been putting the ball in the basket at a crazy, crazy clip for a guy like TJ Warren. But I think the Heat are a more complete team here. The total set at 219. This is one game where there's going to be implications. It just scares me a little bit that both teams are already locked in and they're playing each other, so it doesn't matter who's the 4 seed, who's the 5 seed. Now they're playing at a neutral site. It is what it is. Moving on, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Clippers. The Clippers are 6-point favorites here. The Thunder are currently 4 in the West. Them and the Rockets have a very similar situation to the Heat and the Pacers, where they have games today, and today's game is going to depend whether they're the 4 seed or the 5 seed. The Thunder and the Rockets are still going to play each other in the first round in the West no matter what. But, I mean, the game does matter for seeding technically today. So the Clippers 6-point favorites, the total set at 223. I would maybe take the Thunder at +6 unless the Clippers are motivated to kind of knock the Thunder off of their 4th spot in the West. I think the Clippers really have no incentive to win this game whatsoever. It doesn't make a difference. So I think taking a play on the underdog is good here. Then moving on to the last game of the day, we have the Sixers and the Rockets. Again, like I mentioned, the Rockets are 5 in the West right now. If they win and the Thunder lose, they can flip spots right there. But the Rockets are 4.5-point favorites, so it's not necessarily something you're getting like where you're getting the team that needs to win at a +6 spread like you do for the Thunder. But I think the Rockets are probably going to be able to take this game also. The Sixers don't have anything to play with. They're locked into I believe, the 6th spot. They're playing the Celtics in the first round. But those are the NBA games today. Tomorrow we have the playing game between the Grizzlies and the Blazers. Right now, early line showing Blazers -7, -295 on the money line, but I'll cover that tomorrow morning. Then we have the NHL, if I can get to it. First game of the day at 2 o'clock, the Arizona Coyotes and the Colorado Avalanche. The Avs are -210 on the money line, total set at 5.5. The Canadians and the Flyers at 3 o'clock. We have the Flyers at -175 and the total at 5.5. Then the Canucks and the Blues at 6:30. -140 on the money line in favor of the Blues and total also at 5.5. Then we have the Islanders and the Washington Capitals today at 8. The Capitals are -130 on the money line, total also set at 5.5. Then the last game of the day, the Dallas Stars and the Calgary Flames today at 10:30. Flames slate favorites at -115. Stars also showing at -105. Total set at 5.5. For picks today, go check out Sam's blog on capsonsports.com. Just a quick recap of my MLB picks for today. We have the Texas Rangers -120, the Padres and the Diamondbacks under 8.5, and the Rays rather, -130. So those are my picks for today, and we'll see you for a quick Saturday morning episode of the Cap Rack tomorrow.